So when you think of powerful Dofus users in One Piece, one of the first person that comes to mind has to be, without question, Trafalgar D. Water Law. Law is phenomenally powerful when it comes to his abilities. Absolutely. We say it time and time again. Law is broken. That's without question. However, latest chapter of One Piece, 1009. If you're an anime-only watcher, I apologize. Manga-based content, I do. But listen, my goodness. This latest chapter of One Piece, pivotal. Very pivotal for one Trafalgar D Water Law and potentially for Haki and Devil Fruits in various ways. And how there's a certain Haki threshold that Law just can't manage. That is super important. So right here, in the latest chapter of One Piece 1009, in the Viz translation, the scan lets you say something very similar, but right here, Viz translation. So here's Eustace Captain Kidd. Trafalgar, can you use your powers to send one of them below? And then Law responds, I would have done that already if I could. Their Haki is so strong, it's impossible to move them. That is a testament to the power and the majesty and the might of the Yonko. They're not, they're otherworldly in power. Like, it's been noted to time and time and time again. It's like comparing regular Dragon Ball Z characters to angels like Whis and Vados. It's like, whoa. They're a different breed of freak. Law is a big fish in a lake, okay? Big Mom and Kaido are apex predators of the vast ocean of the world of One Piece. Law said before, Kaido and Kaido alone in Punk Hazard, fight against him would be like a 30% chance of winning. And it's two Yonko at the same... Impossible. The math isn't adding up. It's like a singularity, like a black hole. When you when you go near Event Horizon, a black hole, the math, physics goes out the window. And with Bill and Kaido, physics is going out the window on the regular. It is what it is. Once again, their Haki is so strong, it's impossible to move them. So originally, Law's powers work like this. He cuts you in his room, and you take no damage. But he can move you around very freely because he can move practically anyone in his room. Because in his room, durability, concepts like those are just flat out negated because you're within the operating table of his room. And that's why he was so damn broken. It seemed as if like Law would just bypass durability no matter what. No matter what. However, I would argue, a very powerful dude by the name of Virgo, the right-hand man of Doflamingo. And Virgo unleashed full body armor Haki. Now folks say it's trash. I disagree. Another video, another damn day. But Smoker was in awe. When this man Virgo had a 16-pack going on, Smoker was in awe for a reason. And Smoker ain't no scrub, I would argue. Thing here is this. The full body studly armor Haki hardening of Virgo. Virgo's ability to combine that with also Tekkai. Law was able to cut through all of that in one swing and cut through an entire mountain range in the process. Law has to date one of the most impressive feats in the verse. It is stupid how impressive that shot was. It was disgusting. However, prior to that, Doflamingo did say that Haki could actually block Law's abilities. So for years, it was always in question because, well, okay, Dofi said this, but Law was like, sing, and that's all she wrote. That fat lady sung. Not a few bars, she sung the entire damn song. And Virgo was done. And he's probably dead. I'm gonna say probably because it's One Piece, you never know. Pell came back, Pound came back. Even though Virgo has no P in his name, you never know, alright? You never know. Like sometimes I get up in like a sweat, like a deep huffing sweat. Because I had a dream about Pedro or Virgo or Monet under the bed. They're still alive to this. I'm like, please, just please.
Listen.
I don't want to. They're dead. I hope they're dead. I hope they're dead. That being said, Oda has done various things to curtail Law's powers, I think. Like, for example, Law's stamina. Law in Dressrosa had a stamina issue, where he only uses his powers while his stamina was at a certain level, I suppose. And then also, he had to use his life force to maintain very, very large scale rooms in Dressrosa. But now, the haki is genuinely there, and in the case of Big Mom and Kaido, their haki is so powerful, any interaction at all with Big Mom and Kaido is impossible. Specifically, any direct interaction with Kaido or Big Mom in his room. For example, Law cannot shambles Kaido or Big Mom because of their haki level. Law cannot cut them with his sword slash within his room. He has to use other objects within the room to actually interact with Kaido and Big Mom. Things like the counter shock or the gamma knife, yes, of course, obviously, because they're based on him being the conduit. But also what's important to note here that in terms of haki, it seems to be specifically armament haki. Maybe Conqueror's haki plays a role in this. Very unclear. But at this point in time, I'm going to ignore that because there are still so many aspects of Conqueror's haki that I'm not too familiar with at all, that we just don't know exist or don't exist. Based on Doflamingo's words, Virgo had such strong armament haki that Law can actually cut him in his own room. Now, Dofi himself, we never see him necessarily have that. This may sound crazy, but in terms of armor haki, Virgo may have been a notch above Doflamingo.
But that's count! But that's count! But that's count! But that's count!
Which, whoa. But Law was easily able to move Dofi in his own room. Whereas Virgo, it was a question mark, noted by Dofi himself. Because again, Dofi said his haki could block Law's attacks. That's how it used to be. And also, on that note, even if we, let's say, include Conqueror's haki, because Dofi had that same ability and Law can move him in his room, then it's also a Conqueror's haki threshold as well. So the Yonko outclass someone like Dofi, of course, in both Armor Haki and Conqueror's Haki. But for the time being, let's just say Armor Haki specifically, because Law in the Viz chapters makes no distinction in terms of which haki specifically inhibits people like the Yonko from being moved or cut in his own room. He just says they're haki in general. So there could be a potential overall haki pool that encompasses all haki, Conquerors, Observation, and Armor Haki, but that's not clear at all in the series. And unlike Virgo, in that specific moment when he went full body Armor Haki, when it was noted to his haki level being able to block Law's attacks, the Yonko are seemingly way above that level passively. Big Mom and Kaido, we see them use haki for particular attacks, which is true, but for the most part, they're not all the time using their haki in, like, again, a full body Armor Haki state. As far as we can tell, it seems to be their natural level of haki, innately. And based on that, I think it's safe to say, safe, like a cushion, as I'm falling towards the subject, I think it's safe to say that Law needed to cut through the entire mountain range to take down Virgo. Virgo's armor haki hardening was so potent and so powerful that Virgo had to make a room that large and cut through that much material just to stop Virgo's assault. Which in a way you can argue makes the feat better, because it's very similar to, let's say, Luffy punching Doflamingo down into Dressrosa. If Luffy actually done that with the King Kong gun directly on the bedrock and on the city, there would have been a lot more damage to the island. So in this case, with Law in his room against Virgo, the same concept probably applies, where if not for Virgo being there, then Law's room could have cut more or have grown to a bigger extent at instant, and so on and so forth. So the potency of one's haki definitely applies, I think, potentially both ways. Not just for the person Law's fighting, but also for Law himself. I think that Law isn't that great when it comes to use armor haki. I don't think he's... Like, I'm trying to recall a single moment when Law used armor haki hardening over his sword, and I don't think I can. I know we've seen him use it on his hands and on his arms to block Dofi's attacks in Dressrosa, but I don't think Law is that armor hockey savvy. And if that's the case, which it probably is the case, then if his threshold of hockey was higher, so if Law, let's say, knew Rio hockey, what I call stage 4, the one that can go inside of objects and do internal damage to objects and people, if Law had that level of armor hockey, or maybe even had Conqueror's hockey, all these things, not too sure, but at a bare minimum, if he did have a higher level of armor hockey, then maybe he could interact better with Big Mom and Kaido while they're in his room. Because even though their hockey threshold is way higher than his, Law is like armor hockey hardening on occasions, like once in a while. Like Luffy in terms of armor hockey hardening is way above Law. He's way above Law. So if, let's say, Law had Luffy's level of armor hockey, maybe Law could interact with Big Mom and Kaido better with his room. So again, a lot of maybes and potentials and so on, but I think it's important nonetheless for a video because this clarifies so much in terms of Law, his abilities, and then hockey thresholds, hockey limits. Or let's say in this case, hockey pools, because it could be the amount of hockey, but we don't know how it works. It could be like a Naruto thing, or it could be like a Hunter x Hunter thing, or it could be like its own unique thing per se, but has it really... If Luffy can run out of hockey, then there's a hockey pool. But how potent that pool is...
Oda, you have some explaining to do.
Please, please, for the love of God, explain this stuff better. I love you, I really do. Oda, you're my baby, but please. Now, finally, one last thing I want to note. One last thing. Obviously, there's a hockey level that is so powerful, so high, so vast, however you want to perceive it, that Law himself cannot interact with it. And the Yonko are that level. So in theory, let's say if Law doesn't die this arc, which, I still want him to do, but he probably won't because, Oda doesn't kill a lot of people off. Though, to be fair, Asher Doji may have, and if he did, either way, in the future, if let's say Law winds up fighting against someone like Fujitora or Akainu, or let's say Dragon, Monkey D. Dragon's actually a bad guy, and then Law has to fight against, that'd be crazy, Law has to fight against Monkey D. Dragon. People like that, based on their Dofu power, would be subject to the power of Law's room. Yeah, probably, absolutely. But it will be their hockey level that would allow them to kind of fend off the natural ability of Law's room itself, being able to actually cut them in his own room, being able to move them in his own room, and so on and so forth. Now again, if Law's hockey does improve over the course of time, which it probably will, then that threshold by nature will also increase as well, potentially. And what could also affect that is maybe awakening. This is a bit weird, but I don't think that every awakened Paramecia has to follow the same logic as Dofi and Katakuri. Like, if Law was awakened, could he make a random rock have its own room? What? How will that work? Do every Paramecia have to follow the same model as Dofi and as Katakuri? I'm not too sure. I'm really not. Which is why I think in Law's case, it could be as simple as his room has far more potency in terms of what he can and cannot operate with. Or maybe his stamina pool increases as a result of his awakening. Maybe like he can leave room up there permanently, something like that. Or like for like long periods of time. And that could be his awakening. Stuff like that. So come end the series, things could get very wonky with Law if Law's still around. But I think for the time being, let's keep it simple. Armored hockey, specifically in Law's room. If Law can move in your room, you don't have Yonko level hockey or anything close to. If Law can't, then your hockey may be that of a Yonko caliber person. At least your hockey. Specifically your hockey. Not your Dofu power, not your techniques or your ability. No, your hockey. It's a bit weird, but we can take it for the time being, because Oda's not explaining stuff in full detail. Law is the measuring stick. Like a weird roundabout way of, let's say, the Doriki that we saw CP guys do back in the day. but in this case it's law. So that being said, let me know your stance on the subject matter at hand. Understanding law's abilities better, I think, is a good thing in a general sense, and it required a video. And yes, I think for sure he had to cut through multiple mountains to take down Virgo, which means that if you want to upscale from Virgo to, let's say, Big Mom or Kaido, Big Mom and Kaido would require something far more than a mountain range level room for Law to take. Things get a little bit wonky there, obviously. So let's not go too far that direction, okay? I'm gonna see y'all later. Take care. Have a nice one.